Hi, welcome back to the Light Side Podcast. My name is Shola. I'm your host, and in today's episode, we're going to dive into having a growth mindset. We touched on this a little bit last week, and so I decided to do a deep dive on what it really means to have a growth mindset, how to cultivate a growth mindset, how to adopt it and really nurture it. And as I was thinking of the structure of this episode and the key components that I want to cover, I thought that it just makes sense to first start with what a fixed mindset is because, knowing what it means to have a fixed mindset enables us to, use that awareness to transform it and change it into a growth mindset, and why it's super duper important to have a growth mindset. Naturally, as we talk about growth mindset, we're also going to talk about limiting beliefs because they kind of just go hand in hand with a fixed mindset. And I think it's also super important to just put it out there right now. Every one of us can have a growth mindset in certain areas of our lives and a fixed mindset in other areas. And so we'll get into that. We'll cover all of this, lots of tips and takeaways and everything in between. As a mindset coach, I'm very, very excited about this topic. It is my bread and butter. It's really what I work with clients the most on, is on their limiting beliefs, tangibly and practically adopting a growth mindset through each session, like breaking down limiting beliefs and rewiring them. I've also taught a couple workshops on this topic, so this is exciting that I'm bringing it to the podcast. The beauty of recording these podcast episodes is that every time it's said and done, I have more to say about a topic and more comes to mind that maybe I didn't cover. And so it gives us the opportunity to really dive deeper and deeper. And so we're going to talk about mindset as a whole. It all starts with your thoughts and your beliefs. Your beliefs have taken you to where you are. I think that's the best, most concise way of putting it. Whether you're paying attention or not, your beliefs are taking you to where you are and where you're going, and also how you're experiencing where you are and where you're going. So given that, I want to break down the key players that make up our mindset. Number one is our beliefs, then it's our thoughts, then it's our words, that of course make up our actions. We talked about this on last week's episode as well, how our beliefs really determine the thoughts that we have, the emotions that we experience, and as such, the actions that we take, which shape our reality, which shape our life experience, which is no small feat, right? Given our mindset determines the way we experience life. It's what shapes our reality and how we digest experiences and challenges, how we react, how we respond. It truly determines where we end up. So working on our mindset is really working on the foundation of how you experience and live your life. That's truly how important it is. Typically, the biggest goals that we have, that we want to achieve, the things that we want to get to, their ultimate success depends on how much we believe in its possibility. Largely because that determines the actions we take. It's important to know that, of course, our thoughts have energy, and we've talked about this in prior episodes, that quantum physics has proven and confirmed that we're made up of cells, which are made up of molecules and atoms and subatomic particles that contain a nucleus, and that nucleus is surrounded by electrons, which are waves and concentrations of energy, which means everything is made up of energy, simply put, which is why it's so important that we have thoughts that improve the quality of our energy and raise our vibration to match the vibration of the things that we want. And so again, I'm kind of going off on my tangent of how important energy is, but given our thoughts also have energy, it's really important that we work on our mindset to evolve it out of a fixed mindset. A thought is not just a thought, but it's an energy that you're expanding and you're sending out into the universe. I hope will make you more invested in this topic and why it's important to reframe those thoughts to ones that serve you and to aid you that help you achieve your goals, not keep you stuck. In simple terms, a fixed mindset believes your abilities and skills are set in stone. You think that this is just how I am, it won't change, it is what it is. So for example, for most of my life, I've had a fixed mindset when it comes to dancing. I always say, I don't know how to dance, I'm just a bad dancer. And for a very long period of my life, for a large portion of my life, I thought I was just born that way. Whereas I cheered on my friends who are amazing dancers, not really recognizing that they weren't just born that way. I literally, in my mind, had a belief that they're just born as great dancers and I wasn't. Whereas the truth is they watched videos of people dancing. They had taken classes. It was something that they had practiced again and again, day after day. They had danced and they became a great dancer. Whereas I had never danced. Dancing was something that was not only frowned upon, it was kind of a shameful thing to do growing up in Iran. And honestly, that was my experience of it. And so, yes, of course, I grew up in Utah, but by then I was already 11 and I had already had those first experiences of dancing being kind of taboo and a bad thing. And so, it's like another fixed mindset that I had was I always thought that, I'm just not flexible. But people that are flexible train their body to be flexible. And I noticed that when I started doing yoga, that over time, I was able to reach further. I was able to become more flexible. I wasn't just born inflexible. But these are fixed mindset tendencies that a lot of people have, is they think that they're just born a certain way. Like, I'm just not good at this. As if it's set in stone, never changing, that we cannot change that ability out of us, even if we tried. Again, as I mentioned, I learned later in life after trying and also talking to people, were able to do splits at one point and weren't able to do splits later on. I know it sounds kind of silly, but being super candid, and this is why it's important to work on our mindset, because some of our beliefs were input as a younger version of us, which we don't want to be going around living our life thinking as a younger version of us. But a lot of our first impressions, a lot of our fixed mindset tendencies have been planted in our mind from the younger version of who we are. And so that's the tricky thing about limiting beliefs, and we'll talk about that. So going into fixed mindset one by one, I want to make sure we go through all of this that I jotted down. Let's get into distinguishing what a fixed mindset is, so that it makes it easier to go about talking about growth mindset. One of the easiest ways to call out a fixed mindset is through the words and thoughts that we have. So for instance, this is just who I am, that will never change, people don't ever change, things don't ever change. It's like I'm either good at this or I'm not. It's this whole belief that I was born with this ability or I was not born with this ability. So it's like, number one, fixed mindset belief is believing that your abilities are static. They're set in stone. They're not changing. You're born with specific skills. You're born a certain way, and it just cannot change much. There's a lot of nevers. There's a lot of a set in stone way. The second indication of a fixed mindset is the fear of failure just completely hindering and stopping you. So you avoid challenges. You assume that you just can't do that. It's like this tendency to want to stay safe in order to avoid the potential failure. And so we've talked about this, and I love how these episodes are all coming together so beautifully. I didn't intend for it, but these are all related topics. As a mindset coach, these are things that are my bread and butter. These are things I focus on. So it makes sense that they synchronize so well. But, if you haven't listened to the episode 22 is overcoming the fear of failure and rejection. Ultimately, they go hand in hand, because a lot of times rejection means failure to a lot of people. And so with a fixed mindset, we have this tendency to think that if we try something that might be challenging, that's something that we're not good at, in order to develop being good at it, kind of like the whole feeling like your abilities are static, they're set in stone. We avoid improving our ability in something, our skill in something, because we're afraid that if we try it, we might fail. And so that's another ingredient as to what keeps us stuck with having a fixed mindset, is because we avoid challenges. We avoid getting better at something. Like, for instance, like we may avoid just going to the gym altogether because we're afraid that our efforts won't pay off. And so we're like, why bother? So, like, to give you an example, we might be so afraid of failing or being rejected that we avoid even starting to run track in high school because we're afraid that we may not make the track team. Or we're so afraid of not making the basketball team that we don't even practice basketball to begin with. We think that, oh, just because I'm not good at it, that I will never be good at it. And so, the best example that comes to my mind, I'm sorry, I feel like I've used this on another episode, is Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace, Kobe. He talked about how he wasn't good at basketball, but he practiced like no other. He practiced day in and day out until he became good at basketball. And so having a growth mindset means that you're going to confront those challenges, that you're going to choose to get uncomfortable. You're going to have to be really courageous to overcome that fear of failure and to continue anyway. And so if you find yourself giving people dead-end answers about not being able to do something because that's just how you are, I just kind of want to remind you that that's embodying a fixed mindset quality. As we were talking about, like, a lot of times we could have a growth mindset in one area of life, like maybe it's pertaining to our health, but when it comes to education and our ability to maybe get a degree, we might not. We might think that we're just a bad student. Whereas that's not true. It's that there is somewhere, sometime in our childhood, in our history of being who we are today, there was a belief planted in our mind that it's not safe to do X, Y, and Z because of maybe someone else modeling to you that failure, or that belief that you may fail, that you may not be good enough for it, or something happened that made you believe that you're not good enough for it. And so you avoid the challenge altogether. And so the third thing is believing things are as they are. And so I think I already touched on this a little bit. It's like the example I just gave. You believe that you're just not a good student, that you're just bad at X. Whenever you think that things are just as they are, like another really good example is thinking that kind of money, that kind of opportunity is not made for people like me. What makes beliefs really tricky is whatever you choose to believe, whether it's positive or negative, your mind will then look for evidence of that. And so that's why our mind gets us stuck the most, is because when we believe things are as they are, then we find evidence proving that. In psychology, it's referred to as confirmation bias. That's when we literally seek out evidence confirming what we want to think. Whatever you think, it is, basically. It's like your brain will work overtime to filter out information to support your pre-existing ideas and draw your attention to the information that supports it. So, an example that just pops into my mind every single time is like car shopping. If you're looking to buy a white Lexus, you're going to see white Lexus everywhere. Your brain is like, there's white Lexus, everybody has a white Lexus, and that's just like, obviously not the case. Now everyone has Lexus, but not a white Lexus, but you just look around and you see more of what you're looking for. This typically serves us in that there is so much information and so much coming at us all the time. So our brain's ability to sort and filter out what you need to consciously be aware of is really helpful in the grand scheme of things, right? But where it doesn't help us is if we are not proactively and deliberately being conscious of the thoughts that aren't serving us, that are limiting us. It hurts us. It can project into our future. It can become a self-fulfilling prophecy when we believe something to be so adamantly true, believing things are as they are, like I'll always be stuck, I'll always be poor, I'll always be unlucky, I always attract the wrong men, I always end up in bad relationships, I always end up getting the short end of the stick, I'm always being walked all over, I don't know, you name it. These deep-rooted beliefs, they become a self-fulfilling prophecy because your current experience of whatever it is being projected out into the future because we think that it will never resolve itself. And we think that our past experiences or our current experiences, whatever it is causing you anxiety, your current situation is going to be our situation for the rest of our lives. A lot of people grapple with this and is why they feel stuck, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Everything has the potential to change at any point. And it's our ability to hold on to that belief and know that things are transitory. Things are always in flux. And so we can either choose to believe that things are as they are and be stuck that way because of our brain's ability to feed itself what it wants to see as evidence, or we can choose to believe differently and get us out of the way things are because they don't have to be that way. And the fourth indicator of a fixed mindset is defensiveness when receiving constructive feedback. So this ultimately plays out when you're trying to give somebody feedback with positive intention, really because you care about them, maybe because you work together and you think that what you're about to share with them and communicate with them can help improve their effectiveness, the way something is going for them. Maybe it will improve their chances, whatever. And it's just something that you feel inclined to share for the betterment of who they are and maybe something that they're working on and building a skill at. And in response, they get really upset, they get defensive, they start explaining themselves. This is basically having a fixed mindset because our inability to see room for growth and room for evolvement, like room for getting better. And again, this is where you can find if you might have a fixed mindset towards a certain area of your life is by noticing if when people are giving you feedback, how open are you to that? Do you reject it right off the bat? Are you unable to receive it? Or is this something that you can digest? And number 5 is feeling threatened by others' success or always assuming that people are just lucky. Oh, they just got lucky, or you're so lucky, or you were just born beautiful and that's why you have all the success that you do. That is kind of sad because people are way more than their looks, right? That person isn't just lucky. They cultivated the right combination of mindset, having positive beliefs, having hopeful, positive expectation, having beliefs that serve them. They spoke words that were in alignment with their beliefs and words, and they took action in alignment with all of the above. So they had all the key players of success, which is having a positive mindset, having a growth mindset, having positive beliefs, thoughts, words, actions that help them in achieving their goals. People don't just get lucky. I'm sure you have seen people who you might think like, wow, that person was way better for that job. But it's likely that what held them back or what gave the opportunity to somebody else was a stronger, a greater mindset by the person that they were up against. Truly, I believe that mindset is the foundation of everything that we do and we show up at. And so thoughts like, I'm either good at this or not, like this is just who I am, or this would never change. These are all like examples of fixed mindset, a fixed mentality. And feeling threatened by other successes is also a fixed mindset because you're not seeing that is possible for you. You're thinking that, oh, they're just that way and I'm just this way. It's not seeing it as motivation of like, oh, like this person can do it, that means I can too. That means I can also evolve to that stage. I can also grow. Your abilities are not just static and set in stone. You can improve your abilities. You can try again. You can get better. You can see failure as a vessel for growth, as a vessel for becoming better. And so, but all of that really requires having a growth mindset. And just being completely real and honest, given your mind is so rooted in a limiting belief, it's hard to just work it out by yourself. And that's why a coach becomes really helpful. It's hard to undo a limiting negative belief with the same mind that created it, right? And so it's helpful to work with a coach to decondition, to heal that belief from the root so that it doesn't control your life. As a mindset coach, I love working with you on digging deep and identifying where these beliefs, where the root of these beliefs are, connecting the dots, because a lot of times it's so far beneath the surface and we stand in our own way, but I know we don't want to do that. It's subconscious. And so if you want to work on your mindset, on cultivating a growth mindset, you want to take charge of your life by making your foundation super strong, then reach out to me. I love working with you on this. I apply tools in my coaching practice, such as EFT and NLP. They help us dig deep and rewire the beliefs that aren't serving you, that are keeping you stuck in a fixed mindset mentality. And so we do this in a personalized one-on-one setting, and we release emotions that are attached to beliefs that keep them there, that keep us stuck. And we work together to rewire our subconscious mind to better serve us. And it is extremely transformative. I can't recommend it enough. So I know the last one that I mentioned, number 5, is a little bit hard pill to swallow, because I think as humans, we all tend to experience feelings of jealousy, insecurity, or defensiveness at one point in our lives or in certain areas. And it's because we all have work to do to varying degrees. But a person with a fixed mindset will feel intimidated. But it's like about acknowledging that when you feel intimidated by someone who may be better at something that you also want to get to that level, we don't view it as our own inadequacy, that it's not a reflection of us not being good enough, or that their success makes it so that we can't reach that level of success, that their success is beyond our abilities or capabilities, not allowing it to create self-doubt and low self-esteem within you because others have been able to achieve something that you also wish to achieve. There is enough for everyone. There's enough to go around. And, it's like becoming aware that when we're defensive or dismissive of other people's achievements, of things that they're really good at, to not downplay their success, because we have this fixed mindset that, oh, we are just as we are and they are just as they are and they were just lucky or they're just better. And really, it's a way of not hurting yourself and hurting your self-esteem and self-worth, because in really extreme cases, having a super fixed mindset can really self-sabotage your success and your ability to reach heights that you are more than capable of reaching. But because you don't believe, because you have these feelings of inadequacy, you're not even taking the action or reaching for it to begin with. And so that's why no matter how positive you might be or how much manifestation work you might do, if you don't take action due to any of these fixed mindset tendencies, then it's going to be hard to achieve the success that you're really going for and that you are trying to attain. I've had this mindset, even in my corporate career. I never saw others as competition. I saw it as there's enough for all of us. Each have a unique signature. The way we each do something is unique to us because of who we are. No one person is made to be a clone of another. We're each born in our unique way, with our unique voice, with our unique capabilities, with our unique fingerprints. Like, we are unique in so many ways. And so remembering that, there is no competition as someone else being better. Someone else's success doesn't mean less success for others. Like, it's not like someone taking a portion of a pie. There is, like, in this universe, we're dealing with energy and unlimited potential, but it's about believing in that energy and unlimited potential in order for it to show up for us. So adopting a growth mindset can really help us overcome these feelings of doubt and inability. Talking about fixed mindset, it becomes very clear that what keeps us within the parameters of a fixed mindset tendency is comfort and staying safe, really. And our mind is really designed to keep us safe. It is always trying to find tendencies so that it can run on autopilot. And so comfort is really the basis from which people choose to have a fixed mindset, even subconsciously without meaning to. And it requires a lot of courage. It requires our willingness to get uncomfortable and try again, to fail and be okay with failing and change the definition of failure, of rejection, so that it doesn't impact us in a way in which we don't want to try again, and seeing it as like, oh, I get to try again. Like, oh, I have the opportunity to give this another shot. I have this opportunity to grow, to become better. And I always think about Kobe Bryant. I always do, how much tenacity he put into becoming a good basketball player. He wasn't just born that way. And so the whole premise of a growth mindset is knowing that it's not a given, it's what you put effort towards. There's a super popular quote circulating social media: we only fail when we give up and stop trying. It's up to you. If you have a fixed mindset, you're choosing to not try. You're choosing to hold yourself back from becoming this greater, more expansive version of who you are. I'm obsessed with this quote by Jamie Kern Lima, where she says, the people who succeed the most are the people who fail the most because they're the ones who try the most. And I think like that is just so profound. I mean, I want to literally tape that everywhere. I think it's so important to keep in mind that the people who are succeeding, who are doing well, they're not just lucky. They're being brave, they're being bold, they're trying. And there's also another quote all over social media that says, like, whoever you think has figured it out, they don't. Everyone is just like doing things as they go. It's true. Like, I saw this so much in my corporate career. Like, man, like you think you're going to reach a level where you just know everything, and you never do. You never truly do. And so I guess that was the fun part of it, is that I kept learning and growing. But the harsh reality was that, wait a minute, I'm never going to know everything. And so I think it's important to come to terms with that now and become really comfortable with change, with growth, with like knowing that things are not just as they are. So a growth mindset, on the other hand, is we believe we can get better at something with effort, with practice and persistence. We believe that we can develop, we can grow, we can enhance our abilities. It's thinking, I might not be good at this yet, but with time and practice, I'll improve. I'll get better. And so the key word with growth mindset is yet. It's a powerful reminder that we're always evolving. And we've talked about this throughout the episode. The number one tenet of a growth mindset is believing your abilities can be developed with effort, with practice. Again, think of Kobe, what he said: I was terrible at basketball, and now he made history in basketball because he practiced. And that's the power. What you see is people who aren't good at something inherently, like they don't have a quote natural talent, unquote, they become better than people who think they're inherently good at something. Is because they put more effort, more time at trying that they become excellent at something that they once were not good at. Again, Kobe being the perfect example of that. Number 2, with having a growth mindset, is viewing challenges as opportunities, viewing it as an opportunity for growth, viewing it as a vessel for growth. And so, again, I think I touched on this as we talked about the fixed mindset. It's like being open to self-growth and improvement is a growth mindset tenet. And so, knowing that you're not just born as you are, maybe you're impatient, but you can grow your patience. How can you grow patience? I'll just give a quick example. Through mindfulness, through practicing meditation, you can work on your patience. There's so many different tips on this, but this isn't an episode on that. But just giving an example, right? Like you might think that, oh, I am just super hot-headed. Well, you can improve on that quality. You're not just that way. You can decondition. You can change the conditioning that you're used to so that you're not just that way. Number 4 is being appreciative of constructive feedback, being open to feedback. It's like thinking of it as, I just got intel, some juicy information that I can use for my growth. And so seeing feedback as a form of growth, of having like insight into maybe your blind spot. It's like looking at it as, oh wow, like I had this blind spot. I didn't realize that I could grow on this, but I'm going to now. Okay, I'm just going to get better. Instead of seeing feedback as criticism that person is trying to hurt you, seeing it as they care about my growth, they care about my potential, and so I'm going to take the feedback that they're giving me to improve who I am and how I show up today. And then number 5 is being inspired by the success of others and wanting to have guidance from them, seeing what you can learn from them. You can always seek advice and guidance from people that you are really inspired by or, see as successful role models, but you can see it as inspiration. You can see it as, oh, if they can do it, I can. And so I think we touched on this, so I won't spend too much time. Essentially, knowing the difference between having a fixed mindset, which we really broke down, and the difference of having a growth mindset. I hope that you're able to recognize where can you develop more of a growth mindset in your life so that you can prosper and flourish and thrive more and really see challenges as opportunities for growth, for learning, instead of avoiding them, looking at them as a way for you to get better than who you already are, which is already a magnificent being. And really learning and viewing failure as learning experiences. Listen to episode 22 to really change how you experience failure and how setbacks are really stepping stones. They're a natural part of the learning process. They're opportunity, a gift for growth, for improvement. So I want to share some tips for embracing a growth mindset and really adopting it into your everyday life, recognizing that effort is absolutely more powerful and more significant than innate talent or natural talent. It's like understanding that putting in effort and action and consistency and tenacity and being persistent and showing up is what leads to improvement, not just relying on natural abilities. And so another way of improving your growth mindset is seeking feedback, asking others for criticism. Positive or constructive feedback is helpful. Using it as a tool for your growth and for improving who you are, and again, becoming a greater version of who you are. Another tip, actionable thing you can do to cultivate a growth mindset is celebrating your progress and growth, no matter how small it is or insignificant you think it might be. Celebrating them by celebrating your growth, celebrating the progress that you've made. You reassure yourself, you give yourself encouragement to continue, because it's a journey and every step is important. Every step is an achievement and every step is making progress. And so practice that you can do is every week, at the end of the week, whether it's Friday or Sunday, take note of the best parts of that week. Take note of what made that week great and celebrate things that improved your experience with that week. So for instance, for me, when I was on a trip, one of the wins that I celebrated was being really present. I saw that as a win, that I was able to capture content and post on my social platforms and continue the cadence of my podcast and my newsletter while also being present and really enjoying it. I saw that as a win and I celebrated that. I celebrated the increase in my listenership for my podcast. I'm super happy about that. I'm super grateful that you're here. And so I celebrated that. Maybe that celebration is getting a croissant. Maybe it's getting your favorite beverage. For me, it's like a matcha or a London fog. Maybe it's a bigger celebration. You go to dinner for your favorite food, or maybe it's just going to the park, going on a walk, like giving yourself 30 minutes of phone-free time, like whatever it might be. Celebrate your wins, because giving yourself more encouragement to show up. I think we may have touched on this in episode 3, where we talked about celebrating that you showed up versus an outcome really helps in encouragement and motivation to keep going, to keep trying. And then I think in a lot of books, including Jay Shetty's Think Like a Monk, they talk about having childlike curiosity, cultivating that open-mindedness, being open to learning new ideas, knowing that you are always growing. You are always changing. Every single day is a fresh slate, and every moment is a chance to start new, to experience something new. And so it helps to surround yourself with growth-minded people, to surround yourself with people who also have a growth mindset. They also have that attitude that things can improve, that things aren't just set in stone, that we're not just all doomed. And so that helps. I know that we can't always change that, and we can't change other people. Keyword, you can't change them, right? Growth mindset. They can change themselves if they want to, their habits, their tendencies, etc. It's also like encouraging to know is that a positive mindset is contagious. And so please don't be afraid to share your positivity with others. I think what tends to happen is misery loves company. And so we almost feel like because others are low energy or low vibe or, have negative thinking, we also need to contribute or pile on to that negative thinking. That's totally not the case. We don't need to do that. It's okay to be the positive amongst the negative. I hope you can be proud of that. And if you haven't listened to last week's episode, practice positive self-talk. Learn how to identify and reframe negative self-talk, because your ability to monitor your inner dialogue and replace negative thoughts with positive, growth-oriented ones will make such a gigantic difference. You will notice a shift in your energy when you say positive words to yourself, when you reiterate positive beliefs, like telling yourself words like, I'm smart, I'm capable, I can do this, I can learn this, I can grow at this. Just because I'm not good at this yet doesn't mean I'll never be good at it. Like reinforcing yourself with positive beliefs that you are capable, that you've got this, that you feel good, like I shared last week, will go a long way. And really setting goals for yourself that focus on growth and improvement, or making small steps, like teeny small steps. The teeniest step you can find, just take that. That is good enough. 1% better is what we're working towards, right? Like just a little better is all it takes to get to your end goals. And so keep yourself motivated and focused by thinking about the process, by thinking about how much you get to learn, how fun it is to learn. The funner it gets, the funner it gets. Just kidding. The better it gets, the better it gets. I don't know, the funner it gets too. Like, just make it fun for you by celebrating your wins, by focusing on the progress, by adopting a growth mindset. You really make your life more fun. It takes time, it takes practice, but as a result, you'll become a better, more patient, more resilient version of you that is not afraid of change, that is not afraid of growth, that is not afraid of getting uncomfortable, because you know that there is a path out of the discomfort. Whenever you find yourself in a place of being afraid of taking a step forward, ask yourself, what then? What will happen then? Okay, X scenario, and then what? And then what? And then what? And really go until you reach the end result and see, is it really that bad? Because a lot of times, due to fear, we haven't thought the entire process through. And by querying ourselves this what then scenario, or and then what, and really breaking it down, you realize that you'll get through it. Your mind has the ability to figure out the solution and to handle what's next, even if you don't do the what then. But doing the what then will help simplify that, hey, it's not so bad, because no one can really promise that nothing ever goes wrong or that nothing will go wrong. But it's knowing that you have the capability, you have the intellect, the capacity to handle if it does. And so it's about building that self-belief. So maybe that will be another topic that we can go deep into, because I see how this explanation is turning out to be quite long. It's definitely something that you can develop. It's something that you can practice by knowing that you have reasoning skills, that you can break down what you feel is going to be a potential setback or whatever fear is holding you back through the and then what prompt. Talking about fixed mindset, it's a natural progression to talk about beliefs, because a lot of what feeds our fixed mindset is beliefs. And so given that I like to keep these episodes under an hour, usually within 30 minutes, really, I'm going to make an episode for next week on limiting beliefs where we dive into them. I hope that I see you in next week's episode. If you've enjoyed this, please rate, review, comment, send me a DM. Let me know if you want more of this. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, I'm sending you tons of love. Thank you.